So what I wanted to do is that the theme, you'll get the theme once we go through the video. And I love this video. This was something, and I'm not going to do a big Prudential commercial. That isn't what I'm here. And I was here last year, like Gigi said. But what I want to do is, we are heavy as a company when it comes to planning for women. And this was a big marketing campaign that we did last year. And this video is kind of moving, but it's only 3 minutes. It seems like it's a little longer. And then I'll get into why I'm showing you the video. And then I'll get into what Gigi was talking about in terms of what we've done, again, as a company. It's not a commercial for us, but what we've done, one of the first to do something very unique, especially with regards to women. Okay, so hit the video, take it away. Hopefully you can hear it, because it's going to be on my laptop.
Hi, Charmaine. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hi. My name is Renee. I'm the youngest of 12 kids. I will be 65. Almost mid-30s. Finding my way in life still.
I'm very close to my family. They're my best friends. I've lived in probably 17 places.
I'm single. I always start out like that, just in case. What I look forward to most in getting older, I think it is just, again, just getting to know myself better. I really do. You guys are going to hate this, but I really do forget that I'm going to get older. Like, a lot.
My little mantra in the morning was that my happiest years were ahead of me, not behind me.
You gotta really kind of know what you're gonna be doing and do it, because time is of the essence, and I want to enjoy it while I'm still healthy.
You really don't want to fail when it comes to taking care of your loved ones. I have a situation with my grandfather. I've been his primary caretaker, and his wife, who has dementia in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. They had nobody. They didn't have the help that they needed at their age, and I stepped in, and it was 8 years that I cared for them.
I'm the one who took him to all of his visits. And that was tough because I had my family to take care of, my daughter and my husband, and I also work. But I knew that what was more important was for me to be there for him. I carry that burden of being the strong one for the family and things like that.
I mean, 3 people taking care of 2 parents, that seems like enough, but it's never enough. It's never enough for the care you want to provide for them.
In terms of my own health, my own financial well-being, I was like, that's all gonna fall into place. I didn't think very practically, I think, about those things.
The truth is, you don't know when you're gonna lose that health. That changes everything. You can plan for everything, but you can't always plan for a shocking diagnosis. Who's gonna take care of me? I don't know. I don't know who's gonna take care of me.
I'm learning from watching my parents. Like, financially, they're not looking at me for anything. They got it. And I want to do the same for my daughter.
I hear that.
I'm more conscious now of planning and preparing to make sure that I'm not a burden to her.
It takes a lot of courage to plan for the future.
Yes. I think I think it's a reality check. You have to get that stuff in order because it's inevitable. You will have to deal with it. I'm late to this game, but I feel like what I'm going to do now is educate myself about my finances, take control of my own well-being.
All right, it's a little emotional, but these women were completely unscripted. But we put them in a room, literally. We put them in a room. We didn't give them a script, and we said, just tell us kind of what keeps you up at night, kind of the same. You've seen the same theme. I've heard 2 speakers talk about the same thing, right? It's about, understanding that there isn't, we all know that we're going to have some kind of, just go up to from beginning right there. Nope, just go to, oh, you know what you're doing. We need men to do that, right? So the theme was, as you can see, who's going to take care of me, right, as I get older, right? And it's not just, financially, it's obviously emotionally, but I always like to start out my presentation by asking everybody in the room, because we're all of different ages, who's ever taken care of a parent? There's usually, well, wow, that's a lot of people. So what we're going to talk about is taking care of somebody else, but also we're going to talk about taking care of us. And as I said, Pru has been very active in this market. We were one of the first to come out with what Gigi just told you about, which I'll go through a little bit, but I just kind of want to go through, the whys. So this presentation is basically the 5 W's of chronic care. A little depressing, I understand. Do we want to think about it? But I think when we get to the end of this, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So first of all, we're going to go through who, why, where, when, and what. A lot of statistics in these slides. I'm not going to read through every single slide because I'll bore you to death. But I'll just give you the highlights of each slide and just so you see where the issue is. But as you heard, is it Kathy, the last speaker, somebody else, the other speaker, we are living longer. This is more of an issue for women than it is for men. It might change one day, but right now, and you'll see in my slides, this is a woman's issue. Really, really is. So again, I'm not going to read everything on slides because it's just too much. But I want you to realize, depending on the definition of what a chronic illness is, so different definitions, basically, if it includes bathing, dressing, eating, toileting, transferring, preparing meals, managing money, shopping, getting around the home, light housework, and using the telephone. That's his one definition of a chronic illness, meaning that person can't do any of those things. In order to be chronically ill, you cannot be able to do 2 of those things. And a doctor says you can't do them, whether it be eating, bathing, dressing, whatever. That is what chronic illness is defined as. In terms of just bathing, eating, toileting, dressing, and transferring, meaning getting up and down, you cannot do 2 of those. So in this respect, the surveys say 7 in 10 people over the age of 65, by the way, I'm going 65 and up, I'm not talking about anybody that's younger than that, will need at some time in their lives, and you'll see in some of my other slides, it's usually later than sooner, will need some help with a chronic condition. If you're just talking about just basic things, it's about 5 in 10. So it's about half over the age of 65. Now, it doesn't happen to you at 65. It'll happen to you maybe at 70, at 80, at even 90. But because we are living longer, because we're not dying, of heart attacks, because cancer is curable, because things like diabetes are manageable and treatable, we will have a chronic illness, but we won't die. Right? And now I'm talking I represent a life insurance company. So we talk about nothing more than death most of the time. But what I want to show you at the end of what we've changed in the life insurance industry to reflect the problem that we will have going forward. I want to give you a couple of statistics. I like to just read a few things. I keep this. This comes from the Alzheimer's Association. Today, 2015, there are about 5 million people living with Alzheimer's in the US. They claim, unless we find a cure, there will be 15 million, almost triple that in the year 2050. So that is one of the chronic diseases that scares me the most, to be honest with you, because I'm convinced it's going to happen to me, But I'm jokingly, but it is an issue. So 7 in 10 or 5 in 10, depending on how you define disability. So why? Well, there's 2 types of care. There's 2 types of chronic illness, or let's just call it disability, for example. Short-term, which is, as I said, cancer, heart failure, strokes, fractures, accidents. Generally speaking, you recover from most of those nowadays, right? That's what we call short-term care. Medicare covers up to 100 days in a skilled nursing facility for short-term care. So that isn't something we really need to spend any time worrying about, because if we get Medicare, which most of us will be on when we're 65, that's usually covered. It's the long chronic care that basically starts slowly, and usually remains for the rest of your life. You will end up dying eventually, but it'll be a long period of time. That's what we call long-term chronic care, which is cognitive, obviously crippling arthritis, things that can't be cured and just get worse over time. So that's what we're referring to in this presentation. So where? This is the slide that I want you to focus on. Where does most care take place? 75% is at home. Really, you all said, a lot of you said you took care of somebody, probably more than likely at home, right? So most of us, when we get a chronic illness at some point in our lives, and again, it could be a long time from now, most of us would probably start out having somebody help us. If you're married, it'll be a spouse. Normally, if you don't have a spouse, it's normally the oldest daughter. I think the average age is a 45-year-old taking care of a 75-year-old woman is usually what it is. But look at these other numbers. 15% in a nursing home, in assisted living facility, and 10 in a nursing home. So the majority of care is being taken care of at home, which I like to say is just purely a labor of love. They are doing this for no money. They're doing this because they love somebody. And so that's the issue. So, of course, as we age, as you saw in the video, the women were saying, I worry about who's going to take care of me. And it does. It worries all of us, especially if we don't have a spouse or if we don't have children to do that. So in terms of numbers, this is staggering again. I'm not going to read every single bit of it, but if you look at what the U.S. spends on chronic illness care, it's $725 billion per year. And if you break it down by private insurance, veterans programs, families out-of-pocket costs, Medicare, Medicaid. Let's talk about Medicaid real quick. Medicaid is always there for us, right, if we need it. But what do you have to be to qualify for Medicaid? Absolutely broke. Yeah. Absolutely. Not even, you have nothing. Basically, you can have $2,000 in your checking account, and pretty much that's it. And if you have any money, and you try to go, and a lot of wealthy people, by the way, will try to do this. They'll try to give away money to qualify for Medicaid. I get questions constantly. How can my client cheat the system? You know, here's the rule. If you try to give away money to qualify for nursing home care, there's a 5-year look-back period, which means that they'll go back for those 5 years that you gave away money, and you will not qualify for that period of time. Whatever you gave away, they'll equate that to the cost of Medicaid and say, you don't qualify for this many years because you gave away X amount of dollars to the kids or the grandkids and that kind of thing. So basically, Medicaid is a last option for most people, but sometimes it is the only option for a lot of people too. And then as you see, unpaid family caregiving, $450 billion. Now, how did we even come up with that number? Well, we took 42 million caregivers over the age of 18, providing the average of 18 hours per week at the average wage of $11 an hour. As that's how we came up with that number. So this is who is doing most of the caregiving. It's not any of these. And by the way, private long-term care insurance, I don't know if any of you have it or if you ever thought about it, but there's a couple bad things. No, not say bad. There's a couple of things about private long-term care insurance that you need to be aware of. One, you have to be inside a nursing home. You have to have receipts. They have to actually, file a claim. And it's use it or lose it. If you don't use it, it's gone. It's like car insurance. You're not getting your money back. And so a lot of people don't like that idea because what if I don't use it? And then the other thing is it's terribly expensive the older you get. And the premium increases recently have been, I don't know if you're aware of how many companies have tripled the premiums because of the amount of people that are using the policies. So it's sort of a spiraling downhill. So long-term care, private long-term care, even though it's still good, there are other options that I'm going to share with you that are perhaps maybe better. All right. So when? Don't want to go through every one of these, but as you can see the numbers, if you just take age group, kind of go on that last slide, when will you need some kind of long-term care? Most of the time you see it's going to be in the higher ages. It could be in the lower 65 to 70s, but if you look at that blue line right there, the oldest is going to be around 90. More than likely at that point in time, if you haven't, died already. It's gonna be the higher number. But if you can see, the higher before that is about 85 to 89. So it's back to, we're living longer, we're living healthier, we have more medical technologies, drugs, better drugs to take care of things. So inevitably it's going to happen to us at some point in time. What? This is short-term care. And I want to show you this slide because most people are under the impression, people that I talk to, that Medicare is going to take care of them. And as I said earlier, it's about 100 days. After 100 days, you're on your own. Or you have to kind of return home and then, come back again at another period of time with another illness. But if you look at the duration, the average stay in a skilled nursing facility is about 9 to 20 days. So that's short-term care. That is not care that's going to continue for the rest of your life. So even down here, even the older, it's very few people use their 100 days, is what I'm trying to say. In terms of long-term care, here are the numbers here. Men and women, as you can see, a little different. And so 5 years or more in a long-term care facility is actually quite low because most people don't go in for that long. Usually they go in and it's a short period of time and then they passed away. Why do you think most people end up in a nursing home? Because I showed you in another slide that most care is taken care of at home. So if you take care of somebody at home, why would you now put them into a nursing home?
Maybe because you wait longer to get them the help they actually need.
That's one. I'm looking for another one. They can't do it anymore. The caregiver can't do it anymore. They physically can't do it. It's affecting their lives. It's affecting their families' lives. It's affecting their health, their job, their retirement, their Social Security, all of these things. And it's costing them money. Running around picking up prescriptions, gas, and wear and tear. It wears the caregiver out is really what I mean by this slide. In terms of women versus men, out-of-pocket costs for health care for women generally are more than men. For whatever reason, we tend to spend more on health care, and this just kind of is a slide just showing basically women spend quite a lot more than men. I don't really want to spend a lot of time here, but I talked about Medicaid a little bit, and I said, Medicaid is there as a desperate result, right? I got nothing else, and I'm going to have to rely on the government to take care of me. And on this slide, again, don't worry about there, but if you look at the highest income quintile versus the lowest quintile, income quintile, are the ones that are going on Medicaid, obviously, because they don't have any money. Right, so that's kind of it, and the same thing with out-of-pocket costs. The higher amount of money you make, the more you will spend on your own health care. Just seems crazy to think of it like that, but that is how it is. So, question. So let's get into to what I want to talk about. So, question: what planning for chronic illness care might be needed for months, years, or the remainder of your life, and at a time 20 years or more in the future when your circumstances could be far different today? What would you want? The answer is maximum flexibility and the freedom, choice, and control to be cared by or cared at the best time or where you want to be cared for. What I mean is, what do you have that you can have the freedom? What can you purchase out on the market where you can have the freedom to say, I want to be taken care of when I want to be taken care of in my home, if it means, grab bars and things to help me in the shower. I want to, I don't want to go in a home. Whoever says I want to go into a nursing home, that's what I want. Most people don't. So here's what I want to tell you. So about 6 years ago, Prudential came out with the first, and there's many other companies that have this now, called a chronic care rider. And actually, you'll notice there's some companies that have long-term care rider maybe on an annuity or on a life insurance policy. Then there's standalone long-term care policies that are sold by health insurance companies, and you have to be in a nursing home and you have to provide receipts. You have to get the bill sent in. And then there's something else called a hybrid chronic care rider, which is on a life insurance policy. So here's how it works. So you purchase a life insurance policy for whatever dollar amount. Okay, you're underwritten for life insurance. You're not underwritten for long-term care. There is a few questions that they'll ask you. Basically, are you using a cane? Are you in a wheelchair? You know, are you mentally okay, right? But basically, it's put on, and the cost, like Gigi said, is very small. It's about 10% more of the premium. And what it does is, from day one, immediately, there's no wait period. But if you cannot do 2 of those, remember that first slide I showed you with the ADLs? Hang on, let me go back here. If you cannot do 2 of these bathing, continence, dressing, eating, toileting, and transferring, those are called activities of daily living, 2, and a doctor certifies that you are probably not going to be able to recover. So it can't be like a broken hip where it's going to get fixed. It's got to be something chronic and long-term, most likely permanently. It will kick off the rider, which means that you will be able to take 2% of the death benefit each and every month from the policy. So it's either you use it for yourself or it's passed to a beneficiary or, you know, or a spouse. So it's what we call a living benefit on a life insurance policy, and it's kind of unheard of in the industry. And it's been a game changer for most of the insurance companies, because, you know, the thought is, well, why would they want to pay this out now? You haven't passed away. For us as an insurance company, we're going to pay out that death benefit eventually anyway, right? We just know under this circumstances, we're going to be paying it out early, but we're going to be paying out slowly.
Living benefit on
A life insurance, permanent life insurance policy, AKA a chronic 2% a month up to $10,000, which is the IRS's limit. The reason why the IRS limits the $10,000 is because it's considered an acceleration of the death benefit and is tax-free. Yeah, it's tax-free. If you go past the 10, it will become taxable.
So you're saying any amount past the 10?
So the lesser of, yeah, so the lesser of,
Any full amount past the 10, not a monthly amount past the 10.
so I'll say it again because I probably wasn't very clear. So whatever the death benefit is, whatever, let's say it's a $500,000 policy, it'll be the lesser of 2% or 10,000. So you're never going to be able to go past the 10,000, so whatever the 2 is. So you may not buy a $500,000 policy, you may buy a $250,000 policy, but the neat thing about this, and this is really the game changer here, no receipts. As soon as you go on claim and you're certified by a doctor, and we have the right to go back to the doctor every 12 months to check and make sure you still have the condition. Usually you will. It's immediately, there's no wait period, and you can use the money for anything. So you can use it to pay family members, you can use it to pay your neighbor to mow the lawn, you can use it to go to Vegas and have a big party. I mean, it doesn't matter what you use it for, there's no restrictions. So it's not a reimbursement type of deal where you have to provide a doctor's bill or a receipt. It's what we call an indemnity. It is purely the acceleration of the death benefit while you're alive. Now, once you blow through it, like let's just say you start out at the 10 and you go all the way through, it'll be about 14 years and you'll be gone. So what we always say is, don't start out at the highest amount, and the death benefit, by the way, will be lower dollar for dollar. So if you use the whole thing on yourself, on your chronic care needs, there'll be nothing left for the beneficiaries. So a lot of companies have come out, we actually patented this. We actually had to because they were copying. So you have to compare the different companies and the cost, and some of them have a cost up front, some of them have a cost at the end, some of them have a remainder death benefit at the end. There's one called MoneyGuard, Lincoln, I believe, but they require a lump sum to buy the policy. You just do monthly. I would never suggest anybody put lump sum. I mean, you could go on claim 30 days after buying the policy and you pay. Oh, and the premiums are waived once you go on claim. So once you start on the claim, no more premiums. I mean, it's probably sold on about 60% of our policies right now. Why would you not? Now, it's based on age, it's based on health. You have to be, as I said, underwritten, but try to buy a regular standalone long-term care policy they underwrite really hard. I mean, if you had diabetes, for example, you'd be knocked out. They wouldn't even take you. Life insurance is differently because we're going to underwrite you on your life expectancy, right? And so diabetes doesn't kill people. We might rate it. We might charge an extra premium because of the risk, but you know, we're in a different world now in terms of health. I mean, 10 years ago, we wouldn't touch anybody with certain cancers, breast cancer, colon cancer, diabetes, definitely, high cholesterol, no. Today, most of those are preferred. Most of those health conditions actually get preferred rating.
What does that mean?
The best rate. Because they, you know, if you've got multiple health conditions, the underwriter will say, you know, that this is more risky for us, that this person's going to pass away sooner, so we're going to add extra premium to. There's certainly that you'll get standard, you'll get non-smoker, you'll get non-smoker plus, you'll get preferred, and then you get preferred best. Preferred best is really tough to get. You know, you got to be like ripped. You know, like, I mean, I'm trying to make it funny here, but it's just different. It's easier to get this than it is a standalone long-term care policy. And there's no premium increases. Once you go on, the premium is set.
Is it a term policy?
No.
Or
Permanent.
permanent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of our permanents go to 110. Yeah, and that's changed. See, there's a lot of things in the industry, and I mean, I'm a hit at cocktail parties when I start talking about life insurance, right? But you know, it has changed considerably because of the world we're living in. One, it's cheaper than it used to be. 10 years ago, if you have a life insurance policy that you purchased 10 years ago, I would seriously have somebody take a look at it, because the rates have gone down considerably, because, especially with women, because we live longer. See, they're betting, you know, they want us to live longer, so we pay those premiums. But it's just, you know, it's something really interesting. I love talking about it to women's groups because I'm 53 this year, and I'm gonna be purchasing one for myself pretty shortly, just because, you know, you want to look at your health and you want to look at the age. Obviously, the older you are, we have a lot of retired people that purchase this. You know, they've got retirement income and they've got a certain amount, and they know, you know, they don't need their IRA, for example, or they, you know, I'm not touching my IRA. I'm just living on my Social Security, my pension. So maybe they take a little bit out of their IRA and fund it that way. When they do need chronic care, or if that happens, they don't have to touch the IRA. They go straight to this. And at the end of the day, somebody's going to get it, whether it be you use it all up, or somebody else is going to say, you know, thanks, Grandma. You know, that kind of thing. So, questions?
Premiums stay,
Yeah.
they don't increase the way the private.
No, we can't.
policies.
We can't.
So there's another, I heard of another situation where you can take a life insurance policy and convert it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of that? You convert it into long-term care, and then your premiums, it pays its own premium.
Yeah,
from
so
the
it's a
inside out.
1035 exchange. Yeah.
So how does that work?
You just exactly as you explained it. If you've got, you know, you can move, the IRS says you can take that money and put it into a life insurance policy, and if the cash is sufficient to pay the premiums, it might run on its own.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. So
Yeah.
you were paying.
Yeah. And there's conversions. I mean, you could have a permanent policy right now with another company, and then have us, you know, have Theo's group look at it and just say, you know what, and this is what happens a lot. Here's what you're paying right now. Here's what you could get with the rider, same premium or less. Which one do you want? You know, and usually that's a no-brainer. They'll be like, yep, I'll take that one. So you could do those exchanges.
I wasn't sure about it. I
Yeah.
actually did it, but
Yeah.
so I took a life insurance policy and
Yeah.
converted it into long-term care. And in my particular case, you know, it was also generating
An income?
dividend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would pay its own.
You probably went into an annuity.
Well,
And then with the rider on it. Yeah.
Now all I know is instead of providing a death benefit,
Yeah.
it provides only long-term care.
Okay. So
That's the difference.
yeah, I think that might have been the MoneyGuard product.
So it's.
Do you know if that they do that?
Is it pure long-term care?
It's pure long-term. It was converted.
She went from a life to
a
the,
life
do you think it
insurance,
went to
and
that?
there's no death benefit anymore.
Right.
And it's paying for itself. So I don't.
I think that's what you
I
did.
wasn't paying. It was
Yeah.
paying for itself anyway.
Yeah.
But I was getting a dividend. I no longer get a dividend, but it pays the premium for the long term.
So now you've turned it from taking care of somebody else to taking care of you.
Right.
Right. Which is
Right.
really what the same, yeah, that makes
Right.
a lot of sense. That's
So
a very
it doesn't-
smart move.
Right. And so if I become disabled, then there's a cap that's greater. It happens in my case greater than the death benefit was. There's
Yeah.
a cap,
Mhm.
which
What happens if you don't use it?
it goes away.
So-
Yeah.
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 So
It goes
I
away.
think the most important thing,
Yeah.
so besides being, helping with WIT and working at Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor, I also do mortgages and insurance.
Mhm.
And these insurance products, specifically for the hybrids, the life insurance with long-term care,
Mhm.
have been a huge hit.
Mhm.
I've done 15 of them over the last year. And
Wow.
What's really important, I think, is that Prudential, for example. By the way, I'm an insurance agnostic. I can sell any insurance provider. So I think that's really important. But the long-term care just by itself is a use it or lose it style policy.
Mhm.
And by getting the hybrid, by adding that life insurance,
Mhm.
you can either use it or it'll give you a death benefit to pass on.
Yeah, so I think in the case of mine, it depends on how many life insurance policies you have and
Right.
what the value of that is. So I took a small one
Yep.
and did that so that I wasn't suddenly, giving
Yeah.
just forfeiting millions that might have gone to the,
Yeah.
So.
But I think what's
beneficiaries.
also really important is Prudential is one of the only insurance providers that sell the long-term, it's called a
Yeah.
benefit access rider
It's
instead
called
of
the bar.
long-term care.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why Prudential's I'm not going to say it's the cheapest and it's not
Yeah.
the most expensive, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
You're paying for Prudential.
Yeah.
But what's important is that they're the only provider that literally give you the money and you can do whatever you want with it.
Yep.
That's what's most important.
You can
is that-
take a year check. You can take a whole 12-month check. We'll take a little bit off the top, just a little.
How do the costs compare between that and
It's
long-term?
considerably cheaper.
Is it?
But again, it's based on the base premium,
Of your life insurance.
of the life.
Yeah,
It's roughly around 10% more of the premium. So we can either lower the death benefit for the same premium or charge, it's around 10%, roughly.
Compared to the long-term.
Or just say the regular premium is, $5,000 a year. So add 10% on, yeah. And it stays fixed. Now there's still cash value in the policy, so you still have the access to the cash if you want to, but most people
So it's fixed
want.
and it doesn't go up in like the.
You can have it go up. So what you can do is what they call option B, which means the cash is added, because there's built-in cash inside the policy. That gets added to the death benefit. So every year your death benefit goes up, which means that your long-term care benefit will go up as well, because it's 2% of the death benefit.
That's your choice whether you want to
Yeah.
increase it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it doesn't go up in price
No,
like the long-term care.
no, they've been 40-50% rate increases. A couple of companies are just out.
Sold it, yeah, they
They're out.
sold it, and
Yeah.
all your money's
You got
gone.
nothing. You got zero. You're done. Yeah. So
rate
that's-
and premium mean the same?
Huh?
Does the word rate and premium mean the same? Their rates have gone up, does that mean the premium has gone up?
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of use these words interchangeably. All right. So I'm done.
Would your product kind of pay for itself?
Oh.
No, would your product kind of pay for itself, or is it always somebody paying from the outside?
You
to,
have the flexibility to stop premium payments if you're having a hard time.
or
If it's
you just,
yeah.
it's a big enough policy.
If
so
there's
then
enough-
it pays for itself.
Yeah.
So it's diminished by the amount you're
Yeah.
paying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it has
All of those things. Yeah. The good thing is you will show you different options.
Right.
Here's this one. And you can mix and match stuff around. But I'm passionate about it because I believe in it. So I'm just going to leave you a quick quote. I read this the other day on a plane. Mark Twain once quipped. It said, "If I'd have known I was going to live so long, I'd have taken better care of myself." And I thought, that's perfect for this. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for your time.